Hey, you caught me again. Having my little morning snack here. Got my grub clothes on. I wanted to talk to you. You're probably watching the news like everybody is. And I wanted to talk to you. I had a sales manager years ago taught me a great lesson. He said, Lloyd, there's three things you never talk to prospects or your clients about. And that is politics, religion, or Tony's wife. So, Tony, if you're on here, got you covered, my man. But when we look at the news that are going on today and the horrific events that are happening overseas and all the heartbreak about what we're seeing regarding people that are caught in the middle of a firestorm, and we listen to the news, we read the headlines, we see the clickbait, what are some of the lessons that we can learn from the messaging? So today I'm just going to talk about the messaging. And you see the messaging, you can look at the different news channels and you can see and hear the way they frame their messaging. You can be on your phone, whether you're on whether you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok, whatever you're on, and you can see the messaging that's going on. And of course, the newspapers. Every newspaper has their own slant, their different way of messaging it. So some of them say horrible, some of them say failing again, which is adding their own value to it, the value judgments to it. So it's just interesting. I'm a student of watching the messaging. I want to take you back to there's three lessons I think that we can learn from the messaging of the media. I want to take you back to one of the first lessons I learned. And that is, I'm going to go back to 1998. In 1998, Ford came out with the Ford Navigator. Ford came out with the Ford Navigator, and it was $50,000. I think $48,000. This is 1998. And we bought one. We bought one of the first Ford Navigators. I struggled with the make of it because we've had a lot of Ford cars over the years. But in 1998, we bought the Ford Navigator for $48,000. I don't know what that is in today's dollars, but in 1998, those of you that were adults or old enough to remember, $48,000 is a lot of money. And we paid $8,000 down, cash. We paid down on that car. And the car payment was still like $800 or something in 1998. And the reason that I'm bringing that up in the context of messaging, and the way I saw the Ford is we drove by the Ford dealer and they had one of these racks in the lot out by the street, and they had the Navigator up on the rack. And we like the maroon cars. We've always liked maroon color cars. And I mean, it had everything on it. And it made such an impression that we went in the next day to look at that car. We had a Nissan Pathfinder, and we were looking for a second car anyway. And so we bought the car, $48,000, $8,000 down. Payment was like $800 a month. And a few months later, it could have been 6-8 months, maybe a year later, there was a car show. This was in Yorba Linda, California, where we lived. There was a car show going on at the LA Convention Center. And they have it every year there. It's a great car show, huge. Every kind of car that you can imagine is there. All the development cars are there. So we went to the car show, and we're walking around looking. We've got 3 or 4 kids with us at the time, however many kids we had. We're walking around looking at the car, and past the cars were the aftermarket section. And as I went through this one walkway to an aftermarket section, to my left was a Navigator that looked exactly like mine. And so I went, wow, okay. And I went over and looked at it. And they had some things in it that were like really interesting. Like now I've had a cell phone in my car since 1984. I got my first cell phone was actually a mobile UHF phone. My call number was 4268. So you pick the phone up, you push the button, it says 4268, 4268. Operator came on, they would connect you. And then as time went on, I had different cell phones installed in the car. So they had a cell phone built into the car, not like it is now where it's in the dash and Wi-Fi and everything. But it was built into the car. The speakers were in the sun visor. And I thought, man, that's really cool. I had a phone in my car, but it wasn't built into the speakers. It was just on a holder sitting on the middle of the ramp of the front seat. And I thought, man, that's really cool. And then when I sat down in the car, on the armrest, the right armrest lifted up, and they had a laptop come out. And I was like, wow, man, I'm like a nut for technology. Thought that was really cool. And then they had in the back of it, behind each headrest, they had a TV in there. Now, back in 1998, that was like unthinkable that you had that in there. So that was really cool. Maybe it wasn't a TV, maybe it was a CD player, but something like that. But that was really cool. And then it had a tow bar on the back of it. So I asked the guy who had the desk sitting there, you know, if I were to have, and I named 2 or 3 of the things, the phone, the computer in the armrest. I said, if I had you guys, you know, kind of redo, I've got a Navigator exactly like this one here. If I had you guys kind of redo that, you know, just round figures. I know you don't know exactly, but just round figures, what do you think it would run? And the guy said to me, and this is word for word, I've never forgotten it. I told this story a million times. I think it's a great training story, and it's a real life event that happened. The guy said to me, well, we could do, and he named the things off, and we could get you that good leather. And then he named a price. And I said, well, we've got the Navigator, we've got the EXL or whatever it was at the time, and it's got the leather in it. He said, oh no, this is the good leather, not the cheap leather. And I remember thinking to myself, that's kind of an interesting way to go. So what you just said to a prospect who told you a couple of things, told you that they had the credit to get a $48,000 car, told you they had the money to put down on it, told you they could afford the payment, which at the time was like $800, told you they were looking to spend money to upgrade some of the stuff in the car that you have in this car. And your response is to tell me a few things that are kind of insulting. So you tell me that I'm not a really connoisseur of cars, so I don't know how to pick out a car that has good leather in it. You tell me that I'm a poor purchaser, that I buy cheap stuff, that I'm a poor negotiator, that I overpay for a car that has cheap leather in it. I mean, somehow you think that by telling me that I have crappy stuff, that my response is going to be, you know, you're right. I was really stupid to buy that car with that cheap leather in it. Thank you for pointing that out. Is there any possible way you could help me out to give me the good leather? Can I pay you in cash today? Just interesting, the messaging. So instead of him validating, hey, that's a great car. Yeah, I'm really glad to see you get it. We see a lot of people are really happy with the car. I know it comes with a lot of features. Share with me a little bit why you're looking to upgrade the phone. How do you currently have your phone in the car? Share with me a little bit what your work is. When the laptop comes out, how do you see yourself using it? Nothing, there's not one question, comment, or inquiry about my vision in making these changes in my car. His immediate go-to was to tell me they could put the good leather in the car and not the cheap leather like I have. I just think it's really interesting that the messaging we give out sometimes is all about us, our product and our service. And number one, we don't really demonstrate any interest in the prospect and their point of view and how they use things and what they're looking to accomplish. And we think that by diminishing what they have, will increase the value of what we can provide. When what we should be doing is increasing the cost of the problem they have if they keep that problem, and then illustrating what they gain, what they can start, and what they can get rid of by doing business with us. So I just think it's a great story. And I'll show you the difference. I'm in Colorado. I'm doing an on-site training. My cell phone rings. Well, my wife never calls me during the day when I'm traveling. She knows that I'm working. I don't answer the call. So at the break, I call her. And this is, some years later, 10 years later or something. So I call her back during one of the breaks. And she says, hey, when you come home, I usually left town on either Sunday or Monday. And I would come back on Friday evening. She said, when you come home, I want you to go to the Ford dealer with me. I test drove a new car. Now, at the time, we had two cars. We had a Mustang, convertible Mustang, and we had a Ford Explorer sports track. So clearly, and our kids weren't driving yet. They weren't old enough to drive. So clearly, one of us is getting a new car. And in our family, I never got the new car. Now, I didn't get the new car by design. My wife drove the kids around, and I did not. She worked part of our marriage, and she stayed home and raised the kids part of our marriage. And I never wanted her to be in a car that there was any question that it was going to break down on her when she was out with the kids. So she always got the new car. And I worked a lot in my car, especially in the early days when I was door to door. I traveled a lot, so my car would sit in parking lots. I worked in an office, my car would sit in a parking lot. So she always got the new car. So I already knew the answer to the question. So I said to my wife, who's getting the new car? And of course it was her. And she just kind of, you could hear the smirk on the phone. She said, well, I just want you to go look at it. So I get home about 11 o'clock Friday night. Saturday, we go to the Ford dealer. And clearly the salesperson knows her. So clearly she's been there and conversed, and she test drove the car. She told me that. And it was a Ford Taurus she was looking at. So we get in the car to take it for a test drive. And as you do, before you leave the dealership, so the car salesman's sitting behind us, my wife's sitting next to me. And as you do before you leave the dealership, you adjust things. So I adjusted the seat, I adjusted the steering wheel, adjusted the side view mirrors, adjusted the rear view mirror, adjust the radio because I like the radio. I set it so it played in the front and the back. And before we left the lot, the salesman says, hey, Lloyd, see that blue button over there? I mean, that red button over there? Go ahead and push it. And I went, do, 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 do. And you hear, psh. And he said, that gives Debbie the chance to lower the temperature on her side of the car so she can stay warm when you guys are out on the weekend going to the antique stores. Because we like to do that. We like to go look at the antique stores all the time. And he said, now see that blue button on your side? Push that blue button. I go, and a burst of cool air come out. And he says, and when you guys are out on your weekend jaunts, going around to the different towns and looking at the antique stores, you can keep your side of the car as cool as you want, and Debbie doesn't have to get cold. And I smiled and I turned to my wife and I said, somebody's been talking. Because clearly, the only reason he knew that about our relationship and our habits when we're in the car is because he asked questions. And I actually tried to recruit the guy. I thought he was a great salesman because before you take the car for a test drive, you adjust the things you use the most in the order you use those things. And the reason you do that is to make the car fit you. And he knew that. And he was illustrating to me, now get this, he didn't tell me the features of the air conditioner, and it had a lot of features on it. But he demonstrated the benefit of two of those features. One is that we could each keep our side of the car to the temperature that we wanted it. And the second one is how easy it was to do it. And I thought he was a great salesman. That's great messaging. And then the third example I want to give you. So the first example is the messaging of talking about you instead of the prospect, diminishing the prospect's view and experience with their own product or service or issue, and thinking that by diminishing that, it highlights your value, which it doesn't. And the second one is talking to the prospect about the things they use the most in the order they use those things, so that they can see how the feature has a benefit that's related to how they use it. And the third one that I think is interesting is there's a Freddy's down here where we live in Conyers. Now, Freddie touts himself as having the fastest service in town. I guess, people talk from their frame of reference and people hear from their frame of reference. From my frame of reference, that's not the case all the time. But they do have, and their food's a little expensive. It's expensive because they promote it as being fresh. So all those things, they hit a certain niche in different people. They bring in those different people that those things are important to. But here's what matters to me. One of the things that annoys the heck out of me when I go through a drive-thru is, number one, if the person taking my order doesn't know their own damn menu. That annoys the heck out of me. And the second thing is if I order something that is a package, so like I want a number 2, okay? So the number 2 comes with, I'm just throwing this out there, hamburger, fries, and a drink for $5.49, okay? Well, when I order that, I just want that package. Don't ask me what size drink I want. I want however you price that at, that's the drink I want, right? When they came up with that price, they came up with that price based on the size of a drink. I just want that drink. And then the other thing I don't want you to do is I don't want you to interrupt me when I'm ordering. So I want to be able to order what I want to order and then have you read it back to me, verify that's what I want, and then tell me the price. That's smooth. That's fluid. Not everybody does that. But here's the thing that I find most irritating. Of those two things which bother me, and everybody has their quirks. So if my quirk is weird to you, I'm sure you've got a quirk that's weird to me. But here's the thing that bothers me the most is when I say, I usually get a Sprite. When I say, let me have a Sprite, and they say, we don't have Sprite. My God. Then tell me what you have. What's the substitute for that? What's the brand you carry in lieu of Sprite? Don't make me, because have you ever tried to find the drinks on a drive-through menu? I mean, it's almost impossible to find out where the heck the individual brand names of the drinks are on the drive-through menu. Just tell me what else you have. We don't have Sprite. We carry Sierra Mist. Is that okay? Yeah, hey, no problem. Thanks. Don't make me, what else you have? Don't make me do that. It's annoying. So I got this girl that listened to the whole order, and she said, almost word for word, what I heard you say was you want, and she read it back. Now we like the patty melt. We like that order that has the patty melt, the fries, and the drink. She read it back to me. I said, do you have a peach Sprite, which they have at Burger King? It's my favorite. She said, we have the peach, or we have whatever other drink. She named the options for me, which I thought was great, because now I get to make a choice. I don't have to go, So I made the order. Then she told me the price, and she said, is there anything else? So she let me finish making my order. Then she went back and verified the order. She didn't tell me that they don't have a drink. She told me what the options were on the drink. And then she verified that we saw the price. And then when I got up to the window, she went through it again. So I told her what a great job she did. I got her name. And then I came back home and I went into Freddie's website and I sent an email and said, here's what I hate about going through a drive-through. Here's what this person did that was really good, and I think she should be recognized for it because this is the way the service should be done. And to Freddie's credit, they sent me an email. They sent me a coupon for a couple of free stuff. They mailed it to me. I did a LinkedIn post on this. I didn't do that to get anything for it. I did it to recognize her. So the messaging from her is that what you say matters to us. I know the menu, and I'm going to make sure you're getting what you ordered. And you're ordering something that we don't carry, so I'm going to let you know what we do carry so you can make a choice. And I want to make sure you understand what the price is. So she verified that we saw the price. I mean, she literally said, do you see the price on the menu or on the screen? Yes, we do. Thank you. Thought that was so great. We also went to a Dairy Queen here in town. We have a dog. He's my little boy, Herbie. We always take Herbie with us. And at Dairy Queen, you can order a pup cup. And so we went through and I ordered a pup cup. You got to have your dog with you when you order the pup cup. We get up to the window and he said, can you pull up there, as they do sometimes. We pulled up there and he said, I'll bring the pup cup out to you. We pulled up there and he personally brought the pup cup out to us. And we had already gotten out of the car and we decided we were going to eat there. And he brought an extra one for Herbie. So he brought the pup cup and an extra one for Herbie. I mean, over and above service that he didn't have to do. So the messaging of those two fast food places, the messaging was that what you want and what your experience is matters to us. And we want you to know that we're listening to understand because they parroted back what I was saying to them. So I think that what happens is that we can learn from what we're seeing in the news about messaging. Our messaging needs to be about the prospect. Our messaging needs to be about the things they use the most in the order they use those things. And when we're looking at the news, we have to think, what do our prospects hear from us when we're talking to them? Because the thing that matters the most is what their view is, not what our view is. So when I bought the car for $48,000, and I left this part of it out, here's one of the things they did that was really great. They had us take the car around to the side, you know, that door where they drive the cars in and out of. They had us take the car around to the side. They had us back the car in, and then they had my wife and I stand in front of the car with the car salesperson, and they took a picture of it. This is before Facebook and all the social media, before any of this happened, 1998. And they took a picture of it, a Polaroid picture. Then they gave us the picture. Pride of ownership. They reinforced the pride of ownership. We bought a car recently here in Conyers, and I told the car salesman that they should do that. So they did that with us. They took the car around the side, but here's the difference. Here's where the thinking matters. And it was nice that the girl did it, but she had us pull our car in frontwards. So when they took the picture, they took it from the back of the car. She didn't have us pull it in backwards and take the picture from the front of the car. It's little things like that, because I told her you should take a picture of everybody that buys the car. Then you should post it. You should tag them on that. You should email it to them so they can spread it around. People like to brag. People like to let them know that they got new stuff. You see that on Facebook all the time. And when they do that and they spread that picture, because right behind the car was the name of the dealership, they're going to be promoting your dealership. I thought it was a really simple marketing idea. So she sent the picture, but nothing else, never posted it. And you would think she would want to tag me. Like I have 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. You think she would want to tag me on LinkedIn and say, hey, Lloyd Lofton, thanks for buying the car today. Let us know if we can help you in any way. You're a great customer. By the way, here's a picture of you and your wife taking your car home, blah, blah, blah. Nothing, none of that. even though I suggested it, even though she took the picture and she emailed me the picture. But none of that. So we have to think about what that customer experience is as we're working with our prospects. Remember, I started this off by talking about a really important principle, and not the principle that my sales manager taught me, where you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, and you don't talk about Tony's wife. See, I told you I had your back, Tony. You talk about the things that people use the most in the order they use those things. And remember that people talk from their frame of reference and people hear from their frame of reference. So as you go about your daily life and you're watching the headlines in the news and you're watching, the titles and the news articles on your phone, whether it's, Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whatever it is, think of the messaging. Think about, what did they want me to take from this message? And then assimilate that to the messaging that you're putting out with people. What do you want people to take away from the messaging that you're giving them? And are they hearing what you intend? And do you hear what people mean? So that's my Sunday morning message. I'm going to get back to my eggs and my biscuit and my steak this morning. If you're on my YouTube channel, just click on the subscribe button, click that little alarm clock there, and you'll get notified every time I put a video out there. If you're on a private Sales Heroes Facebook group, put a comment on there on your experience with messaging. And if you're on LinkedIn, let me know, just in the comment section there, just let me know what messaging has resonated the most with you, and what messaging have you found to be the most offensive or the most forgettable. And what are your thoughts about messaging? All right, guys, take care. I'm going to go back to my food.